Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Check us out on the web on YouTube. Election Day coming up, February 24th. Make sure you vote early. Make sure you vote often, but make sure you vote. And this is the one time you can really change things. And speaking of change, somebody who I think would make a very good alderman for the 44th Ward, who incidentally is endorsed both in Jewish Chicago and by myself on the show, which are two separate entities, and that is Mark Thomas. Mark, how you doing?
Good, Avi. Thank you for having me again.
First of all, thank you. And why don't you tell us what you're going to do to make the 44th Ward a better place?
So, we've had 3 platforms. One of them is we're going to allow people to actually vote on a website, and the way I vote in City Council will have to do with the way the ward votes. The second thing we're going to do is we're actually going to establish a trolley system throughout Lakeview, and we're going to do an awful lot of promotions down in the hotels so that we can get more foot traffic back. And the last thing is that we really think we need to do what Burnham did over 100 years ago. We need to have a future vision of Lakeview, and we need a master plan. So that's been continuous for the last year and a half. I also found out as I was doing research that Chicago doesn't have an equal pay ordinance. And the first thing I would do as an alderman is I would put up an equal pay ordinance where men, women, gay, straight, everybody gets equal pay from any company we do business with. So I think that's important to make sure that equal pay happens. So I also believe everybody talks about the pensions, and everybody's got all kinds of answers, and they say we all have to share in the pain. Well, I think the politicians need to share in the pain. And I think that for every year somebody's been elected, I think they should take a 2% cut in their pension, and I think they should take a 2% cut in their pay. And I think the pain starts with them, and I think they need to lead by example. So the next thing I want to talk about is minimum wage. And we really have to learn how to get people to have a sustainable living wage here. And it's not just about minimum wage. We have to learn how to make jobs. But it was shocking to me to find out that my daughter, when she was waiting table, made $4.95 an hour to set up the restaurant, $4.95 an hour to knock down the restaurant, and then that all got averaged in with her tips. And that's how she made her minimum wage. But at the end of the day, Alderman Tunney voted against minimum wage, and I understand that if I could get somebody to work for me for $4.95 an hour, that's a pretty terrific deal. So the other thing I would like to talk about, and we're calling this the matter of trust. So here I have, this is from the Chicago Boys Town blog, and Alderman Tunney and Alderman Kappelman talked about how many policemen they added to the police department in the last couple of years. And one of our bloggers actually went out and did a FOIA. And what they found out is we're down 2 policemen from where we were a year ago, and we're almost at historic highs. So all the lies about adding policemen are gone. So this matter of trust is really a matter of distrust. Last but not least, I would like Alderman Tunney to come forward because we've all heard this. He's got his property for sale on Belmont. He sold his property in Andersonville. And so we've continuously heard he plans to serve 2 years and step down and then let the mayor appoint somebody. And I think if Alderman Tunney in good trust wants to run and keep running, then he ought to sign a pledge to the voters of the 44th Ward that he's going to work for all 4 years because we really don't believe he's going to be there. We think he's there for 2 years and out of here. And that's not a democracy.
No, not at all, especially when the mayor gets to appoint whoever they want. And I wouldn't say I have problems with the mayor because that would be the understatement of the century.
Well, you know what? I'm really neutral on the mayor because people say, well, how are you going to vote with the mayor and without the mayor? And I say, well, we have this new thing that we call participatory democracy where people are really going to vote on the issues. So when people say, well, how are you going to vote? And I go, I'm going to vote with the 44th Ward. So, we're going to give all the people in the 44th Ward a chance to vote on the issues. And then I'm going to represent their vote in City Council. We call it democracy. We kind of learned about it in 8th grade.
I think that's pretty cool. Once upon a time when we had a democracy in the 50th Ward, the aldermen used to have zoning meetings and let the people who attended the meeting vote on whether that change should happen or not.
And you know what? Participatory budgets is the beginning of that. But, this is the next thing. I think that in 10 years, you're going to have people voting for president on a smartphone. And I think allowing people right now to vote on the major issues and have something to say about how I vote in City Council is the beginning of people voting, for the president on a smartphone. I think that's what's coming. I think there's a big change coming in politics. and we represent the vanguard in the start of that.
Yeah, you know what? I definitely like the fact that you have an eye to the future, not just talking about that we need a vision the same way that Burnham had a vision that lasted us.
Absolutely.
But in terms of, this, we have the technology to really bring democracy to people right where they live.
Every single community meeting in our ward will be videoed, just like you're videoing, and we will make sure to webcast that, and then we're going to do just what you do, is put it up on YouTube, and everybody's going to be able to see how the decisions in the ward are being made. And I also hope that the different community groups will actually use our website, which we did in WordPress, so like Wikipedia, people can improve it, and I hope they'll use it and they'll allow people sitting at home to actually be able to vote from the comfort of their own home.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yep.
And for those people who don't know, what are the boundaries of the ward?
So we really start at Diversey. It's the lake. It goes as far as Ashland, but it kind of gerrymanders in there at Southport, and it goes up to Irving, but it kind of gerrymanders down to Grace. So it's the normal cutouts, but that's really the lake to Southport is the big portion of the ward.
No, and it's a very interesting, very dynamic ward, and tons of Jewish life too in there.
Oh yeah, we have some of the greatest temples around, and it's part of what I want to do is I want to bring the feeling that I learned as a kid in the Jewish community to the whole 44th ward. We need to bring back a sense of family and community, and first that starts with making sure the community is safe. And again, most people don't know that all the aldermen, when they've been sworn in since 1870, that they're actually law enforcement officers. They have arrest powers. So when we go out on the street with off-duty police officers, I'm actually doing the job I was sworn in to do. So my commitment is to be the alderman for the 99%. I think that the current alderman is the alderman for 1%.
So if you want to vote for change, which is probably a really good thing in the 44th ward, endorsed by Jewish Chicago, myself, the Northtown News Magazine. Mark Thomas, what's your website?
It is voteformarkthomas.org, and we're still looking for volunteers.